answer. Many things we don't lost. It in the be like highway.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Jabari Media. We are going to have Clau O'Brien, also known as Claudia, on the show from the Black Agenda Report. Just going to see, making sure there's no issues going on. Also, Alex Suarez will be with us very shortly. Using a new mic. Yeah, she said 15 minutes behind, so that's not bad. Let her know. No problem. Take your time. So I don't know if people saw what was happening the past 2 days. There was a shooting that happened. Very barbaric shooting. Hello. How's it going? Thank you so much for coming on. Very barbaric shooting that happened in Wisconsin. Let me get the video feed up. Actually, I don't even know if I want to play this because it was very, very brutal. But there was a shooting. His name was Corey Ruiz. Corey Ruiz was killed by a police officer whose name has not been identified yet in the Madison PD, Madison, Wisconsin PD. It was four cops surrounded around him. We put the video up on our platforms. 4 cops surrounded around him, and one was shooting a taser. I don't know if I saw the taser deploy yet. But the narrative is that has not been confirmed, still unconfirmed independently and legally, that a cop got stabbed. So that just sounds like a rumor. In these cases, they always say, oh, well, they attacked the cop or something until they look. And at the end of the day, we have to take everything the police say with a grain of salt. Yeah, was there a knife? It looked like it was on his person. He did not have a knife in his hand at all. I think the cop that shot him freaked out and decided to just execute him on the street because he had a knife on his person. The knife was not in his hand or anything. Looking at the video, and then when he shoots him 3 times in the head, I just don't understand why they do this, but they cuff a dead man. They cuff him, and then while they're cuffing him, you see that they pull the knife off his person and throw it to the side. I don't understand at all how still in this country, because it's a lot of comments about this. I just don't get how still in this country we still have people defending this, because like I said in the comment sections, I was explaining, in other countries there are a lot of situations that are similar in America where people have a knife, people are resisting arrest, you know what I mean? And they don't end up dying. They don't end up dying at all. So it was very peculiar to me, knowing the knowledge that I know and trying to share out that, why don't people look at how things are conducted in other countries, how in Europe, for example, because a lot of people are Eurocentric here, not by choice, it's just, how this country was made, and stolen. But in Europe, police encounter people with knives, especially in the UK. You can see videos of this. Police encounter people resisting arrest all the time in these countries, and they don't kill anybody. It's only once in a while, like years can go by, where someone is murdered by police in these European countries. But here in America, we make it seem like whatever choice you make, especially if you're not white, and they shoot white people too. That's the other thing that is everybody getting gunned down by police. Everybody. But like, I just get queasy when I see people defending this, because they make it seem like it's like, okay, so off of whatever decision you make, you should die for. Oh, you pulled your middle finger up at a cop, you should die for that. You cussed at a cop, you should die for that. You shoved the cop, you should die for that. You are told that you stabbed the cop, but then when you are surrounded by 4 people, and they all got you on the ground, you should be detained, arrested, given due process, prosecuted, convicted, and whatever the sentencing was. That's your right. Your right is to due process. You know what I mean? I don't buy this story. I'm just going to say it because it hasn't been proven. And by this time, they should have the name of the police officer that was allegedly cut or stabbed or whatever. They don't have the name out. Why? Because it's allegedly, and it's not true. Because if it was true, they would have already had the evidence out showing that. And even if he did, off the video, it showed that there was 4 cops surrounded around him. And clearly, when there's 4 cops surrounded around you and you're on the ground, you could be resisting arrest, but you're not going anywhere. There's 4 cops on you. They literally stepped on one of his legs. He was not going anywhere. So for that 4th cop to come in, shoot him in the head 3 times, That's unjustifiable. If he was fighting the cop and he pulled out a knife on the cop while fighting the cop, we'll be like, oh, okay, it makes sense. The cop shot him. All right. All right. But here you have 4 cops around him. This is unjustifiable. It's unjustifiable. But again, just like with ICE, you know, you got ICE agents shooting in cars with kids, shooting people at traffic stops, shooting soccer moms. You know what I mean? ICE doing all this stuff, and people are like, hey, we support that. I voted for that. How long, you know, y'all can continue to support all this nonsense. And if it happens to you, you know what I mean? Like, you got to understand, you voted for that. If it happens to you, just know, and you voted for that, you voted for that. So I'm not going to sit here and have a whole lecture about why first of all, ICE in the police, you know what I mean? They both, this system has to be abolished. It has to be at this point. I don't know how anyone thinks that this system is worth saving at all. But you know, at the end of the day, that's just my opinion. And they got my organization on the list for a subpoena and all this stuff like that. And apparently we're leftist terrorists, so whatever. Feel how y'all want to feel about that. But you know, people that have watched this show, they know for a fact that we are not bullshitting you with anything. We are giving you straight up hard news. Breakthrough news is a blessing. Breakthrough news is a goddamn blessing. We're giving you straight up hard facts. We're showing you real research. We're showing you exactly what's going on. Okay? And we're from a working class perspective. Nobody's rich. Nobody's owned by the government. Nobody's owned by corporate America. We all come from our own money, and we distribute the product that we can based off of what donations are given. Literally. So they can say what they want. Let me play the video real quick so you guys know what I'm talking about here. So Breakthrough News has been subpoenaed by the United States government. They want all documents to come in. Let's bring it up real quick because I know Brennan is a little behind schedule. She said she's coming, so let's put this in. This is a filler. I told her no problem. Take your time. Okay. All right. All right. So let's get this video up real quick. Marco Rubio came up with this. They had a whole summit. How they're going to debank. I don't know if people remember that part. They're saying they're going to debank, and there's radical left extremist terrorism. You know what I mean? Like they're like, it's so America. We're just calling everything terrorism at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Everything. That's a terrorist. Soon there's going to be cat terrorists. They're going to be like, oh, there's terrorist cats all over the place. We have to protect the country from the terrorist cats. You know, like it's the terrorist term has become just like anti-Semitic. It has just became like, you know, a paper tiger. There's no actual merit towards using the term terrorism anymore because
with that, Zoe, I wanted to address what we here at Breakthrough News have been dealing with this week. You know, we have spent the week here at Breakthrough reporting on the Trump administration's war on the left. So I want to say something very directly to everybody watching, because this show is now part of the story we've been covering.
Yeah, it is really no longer abstract for us.
No, it's not, because Breakthrough News, as many of you may have seen, has been subpoenaed by the Republican-run House Ways and Means Committee. They didn't send us a letter. They didn't send us like a polite request. They sent us a subpoena demanding our internal communications, our financial records, and a lot more.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Which is just wild.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's important for us to be clear of what we're actually accused of, which is nothing. There's no crime, and we have not been charged with anything.
Yeah, that's certainly true. We haven't been charged with anything because there is no crime, right? We are.
So before I continue this video with these amazing people that I've met, and they are really good people, you know, like I have nothing but utmost respect for these two women. So please go and follow Breakthrough News on YouTube. Please donate, because if you have the capital to donate, please donate. If you have $10, please donate, because they're going to have to get lawyers. They're going to have to get lawyers. They're going to have to fight this. And they are going against the government and the Zionist entity. And they got money like out the yayo. So they need more money than God at this point to make sure that these great journalists that have a good standing and integrity in journalism stay with their jobs, because it's absolutely unnecessary what's happening right now. It's absolutely unnecessary what's happening right now. So wait, let's continue the video on, because Rania gets into it.
A nonprofit newsroom. And as a nonprofit newsroom, we already comply with every tax rule, with every audit, every public reporting requirement we have already complied with. We haven't also taken a dime from any foreign government, as these people are trying to insinuate.
So, yeah, I guess the question is, what is the actual offense? Like, what did we even do?
That's a really good question, Zoe. What did we do? Because from my vantage point, what we did wrong in the eyes of these people who have subpoenaed us is we've covered the Palestine Solidarity Movement with staunch opposition to the genocide in Gaza. We have showed people what ICE is actually doing in the streets of America, which is something that these people are very upset about. We've reported on Washington's crimes around the world, from Cuba to the Congo to Iran to here in Lebanon, where I'm speaking to you from. That's it. That's what we've done. That's the whole indictment. That's our big crime, which actually is not a crime, Zoe.
Right. I mean, it is literally journalism. That is literally just us doing our jobs and doing journalism. I don't really know what else to call it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the journalism, the kind of journalism that these people would like to shut down. And that's the strategy here. I mean, they know that our budget at Breakthrough News is like literally microscopic compared to the billionaire funded networks that literally run the airwaves. Like, they don't even need to win here or prove we did anything wrong. I think this is really just about trying to bury us in legal proceedings until we basically like run out of money or just stop reporting out of intimidation, which is also a part of the tactic here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what people kind of need to understand, is that this is a playbook that they deploy. And again, they target us because of what we've been covering, but also because we're small. And it really sends a message to every independent media outlet that this could be you next if you don't fall in line, which is basically shut up.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that? This reminds me, here we go. Alex Jones. We all know who Alex Jones is. Right winger, crazy. Don't believe half the stuff he says. Actually, don't believe majority of stuff he says. He's a journalist because he went to school for it. Says the most craziest nonsense on the planet. When Alex Jones got canceled, I believe he was the blueprint for a new wave of censorship. Because after they canceled that crazy motherfucker, let's just be honest, got no love for him, Tucker Carlson, none of them. After they canceled him, they noticed the public did not make a reaction. Only a few people did, because, you know, it's Alex Jones. Who's going to defend Alex Jones? He says crazy stuff. He says Sandy Hook. I live in Connecticut. He said Sandy Hook wasn't real. That's insane, dude. I've met one of the parents years ago. I met one of them that lost their child in Sandy Hook. He said that was fake. Bugging for that. So, yeah. No one said nothing about Alex Jones. And then they started going after a lot of really good, independent investigatory. Am I saying that word even correctly? Investigative journalists, really good journalists. They started censoring them, and then it didn't just stop there. They started censoring journalists for a certain type. If they worked for Russian media, they got shut down. Look what happened to RT in America. If they worked for Iranian media, if they worked for any kind of media that America doesn't want involved, they were shut down. Alex Jones was a precursor to that. That was a test. The government does tests where they see how the United States, the working people will react to whatever type of crackdown they do. And if you don't get backlash, this is why it's important to stay organized in the streets and to be more aware of what's going on. Because if you don't get backlash, they will use it for anything. So here we go. Breakthrough News is now targeted. We talked about it when we had Professor Dan Kovalik on last Tuesday. When we had Dan Kovalik on, we talked about it. So let's get more into it. This is the new Red Scare. This is the new Red Scare. And it's a global Red Scare as well, too. This has happened before where they have went after people they have deemed communists, left-wing extremists, all this stuff. This is nothing new. But what you're seeing in this page, they're talking about Cuba, but they're saying everybody's online with Cuba now. It's so weird. And in this document, it's called The Capital of Communism, Cuba, The Capital of Communism. Look it up. It's a 100-page document. I went through it real quick. They name everyone they want to name. They even named dead people. They named Assata Shakur. She's dead. They named George Floyd. He's dead. And we don't even know George Floyd was a leftist. We don't even know. We don't even know. They named all these people and say they're all left-wing extremists. They named my party, the PSL. They named Breakthrough News. They named Claudia Dela Cruz from the People's Forum. They named the People's Forum as well, too. They named the fucking DSA. Mondani. They say a Mondani is a leftist terrorist. Oh my God. Like, they're naming everybody they don't like, all because we have different ideas. I feel targeted by this as well because I'm a part of the PSL. I've been a part of the PSL for almost a decade. You know what I mean? They're going after everybody just because they don't like their ideas. Am I scared? No. Whoever just put that in the comment section on Facebook, dude, I'm not scared. This has happened before. This is a repetition of history. This is a repetition of history. Okay? Yeah, I'm not scared. I'm not worried at all. Besides, we got lawyers. Anyway, not worried. If we got to fundraise and shit, I'm not worried. No, I'm not worried because they've done this before and people had to literally fight. And they're going after the big fishes, first of all. They're not going after the little activists like me, the little activists in New Haven. They're going after the people that run the organizations, the people that are able to put us on platforms to continue the movement to fight for working class people. That's who they're going after. They're going after the leaders of our movement, the leaders of your movement, the working people movement, DSA, PSL, everybody involved. They're going after our new leaders, this generation leaders. Why? Because they don't like how we think. They did this with McCarthyism. They did this around World War II. They did this before World War II. You know what I mean? This is just a repetition of fascism, of a fascist. Oh, this irks me. This irks me so much. So we'll let it continue a little bit more.
And don't do your job.
No, that's exactly right. It sends a message. Like, this is, I think people really need to recognize this is not just an attack on little old Breakthrough News. Like, this is an attack on all independent media and literally freedom of the press itself. And it's ironic, Zoe, because it's coming from the same politicians who ran on, defending free speech, mostly from like the woke left. But right now, actually what they're doing is they're attacking speech that they don't like.
Yeah. And I think probably our viewers are wondering, what can people do to help to join us in this, and as we are facing really an unprecedented attack.
Well, first of all, I want to say there's been an outpouring.
I have to skip to Brian Becker.
The United States. So I don't think it's going to fail, but we do have to fight back. And I do urge everyone who's listening to Breakthrough to take it seriously. The House Ways and Means Committee, the Trump administration, using this idea that everybody is a foreign agent or perpetrating terrorism, they're trying to shut Breakthrough down. They want to shut down independent media. They want to shut down anti-war groups. They want to do this. They're serious about it, but we can beat them.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And now, Brian, we wanted to dig into a little bit of this historical context.
Yeah, this is important right here. Pay attention to this.
Somebody said, "Oh, you're going to Breakthrough. You have a history of living through witch hunts like the Palmer raids." And I was like, "No, I did not live through the Palmer raids." Okay,
he's young, guys.
Brian Becker, exposed as being 120 years old. How old would you?
So the Palmer raids was one of the eras that I was talking about. He's going to talk about it. Here we go.
Amazing. How do I look?
Here we go. Let's go. Oh wait. I went a little too far. Here we go.
Carried out what were called the Palmer raids, along with J. Edgar Hoover, who was then a young man just taking over the FBI. They deported 5,000 leftists because they were leftists. They were deported not because of what they did, but because of what they thought. They were deported because they had committed thought crimes. Many of them were socialists or anarchists or Marxists, but it was in response to this growing wave of radicalism following the Russian Revolution. The next witch hunt, which comes right after World War II, is also in response to a growing tide of revolution in Asia, the Chinese Revolution, the Korean Revolution, the Vietnamese Revolution, the revolutionary processes in India and Indonesia, in Iraq, in Egypt, all over Africa. All of the people in what was then called the Third World, or we call the Global South, were rising up against colonialism. And so there was a terrible witch hunt against all of the people in the United States, and particularly the Communist Party, but many others too, who were in solidarity with the national anti-colonial.
All right, we have Alex Suarez here. Alex, what's going on? Real quick. Oh, let's bring you up. There we go. Alex, what's going on? Clau O'Brien is in some type of she's running late.
I think her last name is O'Brien Moscoso, something like that.
O'Brien. She said that she's in the path and is so backed up. So I
was the only one late then, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, for those who are confused about who the guest is, Paulo was kind enough to have her be his replacement for today. She's an independent journalist. I'm sure you presented her, but she's done some good work with the Black Agenda Report covering Latin America. She's Peruvian in particular, cases in Peru and Bolivia she's covered. So look forward to having her on. What was it that you were just playing earlier?
So right now I'm talking about the affiliated media that I'm affiliated with, Breakthrough News. They have been subpoenaed by the U.S. government.
Oh, I signed the petition. Yeah, that is a witch hunt. Everybody should be supporting them. As a matter of fact, I found out about the innovative curative medicine that my father probably needs through that source. Like, they've done incredible things to expose
great work,
imperialism in Cuba and show the medical advances of the socialist system there. And now they're turning into targets of the U.S. Imperial regime. Not only are they targets in the indictment, so is Code Pink and others that they claim is foreignly financed by Cuba, China, whatever, without any evidence whatsoever.
Yeah. And I was just saying, listen, if you can follow Breakthrough News, give what you can. You know what I mean?
I'm going to subscribe to them. When I start working again, I'm going to pay something to them every month. Everybody should try to support them financially or morally.
Yeah, man. $5.
I wrote a really big comment. I don't know if they posted it yet when I signed the petition in support of them, but basically saying this is a new mcCarthyism because they're being real journalists and they're not being stenographers of the elite. You know, they're exposing what's really going on.
Yep. Yeah, man. And somebody asked me in a Facebook comment section, it was like, "Are you afraid?" And I'm like, "No, no." And I want people to understand, and I'm pretty sure Alex Suarez is going to agree with what I'm about to say. This is what is about fighting for a better future for your country. You do not fear the enemy ever.
I want a
In
better
fact,
future for all humanity as an
right,
internationalist.
right.
But Che said it once. He said you cannot fight imperialism just fighting its external arms. He said you
Yeah.
have to go after its head, which is the U.S. government. And he also said once, envy I have for the American left because their fight is the most important within the belly of the beast itself.
Right. Right. Because we live in the place like how Great Britain was. We live in the belly of the beast. We live in the imperialist.
The new Rome,
state.
right? And remember, the
Yeah.
Roman Empire, like old empires, fell.
She said she'll be on in 10 minutes.
Good.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So
I know she's from Peru, but is she based in Peru or does she work in the United States?
I know she goes from New York to Lima.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, New York to Lima.
Well, she's EST like us then. No problems with the time zone, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not afraid, and I'm not going to leave this country or flee this country. Because there's a lot of work to do, and they're going to go after the leaders. They're going to try to literally destroy the leadership like they do with everything. And when we have to stay and continue for them, if anything happens to Claudia de la Cruz, if anything happens to Brian Becker, if anything happens to Rana Khaled, if anything happens, you know what I mean? If they get locked up.
I met her once.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story about when I met Rania?
No, you haven't. I met her once in DC, but how'd you meet her?
I was with Dust, and we were, there to support Uhuru. And I was walking to one of the events, and I ran into her, and she was surrounded by a group of people and answering all these questions. It wasn't a press conference. It was kind of an impromptu thing among the activists. And I saw she was overwhelmed, so I didn't want to take her to the side to speak with her. I kind of regret that now. Like, I could have waited and found a moment to talk with her at length. But the only thing I said to her when I walked past her was, keep up the good work.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And I also met the founder of, and they interviewed me later with Lee Camp once he joined up with them after they shut down RT. I met the founder. She's a Muslim woman. I can't think of her name right now, but she started, what's the network that Lee Camp works for till today? Mint Press. I met the woman who started Mint Press.
I didn't know that he's on Mint Press. I thought he was.
Oh, yeah, he's been working for Mint Press for like 2 years now, at least.
Okay.
When he interviewed me, it was through Mint Press. A couple years ago, and this woman, I can't think of her name right now, but very important woman. She started Mint Press, and they're still functioning. They're a target as well. So is Black Agenda Report, all these media groups. And so I met her in Venezuela, and actually I did have a conversation with her, but it wasn't as long as I would have liked it to have been, because maybe I could have seen about working for them. But ultimately, when Lee Camp told them about me, they knew about me from Venezuela, and the interview got approved. And that was a good interview. The only problem was there was some technical issues. So I would have loved to come back on and talk with him, but I wasn't able to. And around that time, I wasn't your co-host yet, but you interviewed him too. So that was good. You interviewed him before he interviewed me. But of course, I met Lee a couple times in DC as well. But yeah, Layla was just a brief encounter. Unfortunately, I'd love to talk to her at length. She's a fascinating person, Lebanese American. If I got to talk to her at length, I would have told her about how my father was in Lebanon and his first country, the Middle East, and how I was exposed to the Arab cause through my father, in a way, through Lebanon. And
we can get her on the show.
Lebanon continues 20 years on. I mean, that hasn't been there since 2001, but Lebanon continued 20 plus years on to be a target of Israel. And if you want to talk about Lebanon, I mean, it's kind of a topic, but we'll get to Latin America when the guest comes on. Literally, their armed forces have given land away to Israel in the south of the country. This is why the people do not support the regular army, but prefer to support Hezbollah, because they're the only group that's actually fighting for the sovereignty of the Lebanese people.
Yep. And experts have shown that majority, if they estimate half, but they do say it could be more. But the reason why that Lebanon would never have a civil war is because majority of the Lebanese forces support Hezbollah. So there would be a total mutiny. Same thing with
Iraq. They had a civil war in the past, but I believe in 2006, when the Israelis invaded then, I'm saying demographics has changed in the 1980s when they had civil war. So I'm agreeing with you.
Right.
But in 2006, for example, when the Israelis invaded, that I remember they had a opinion poll, and 80% of the Lebanese people supported Hezbollah at that time. Yeah. Did they consistently have 80% of the support of the population? No. But at the time of the invasion, yes, because they were the only group that were defending the sovereignty of the nation.
Correct.
But back then, at least, they were literally giving land over to Israel. Now they're such sellouts, the Lebanese government, that and I'm not talking about Hezbollah because they're part of the government too. They're part of parliament. They're not just a militia group. But they're such sellouts now that it's like they're literally giving land over to Israel, and Israel's still bombing them. It's a lot like what's the name of the guy who runs Syria now?
Al-Jilani.
Yeah, Al-Jilani. I'm half joking because
Al-Sharala.
No. I'm half joking because he always changes his name, right? To try to cover up his tracks cover up his past with ISIS and all that. But you know, Jilani, he basically said, Israel, please, we'll do whatever you want, and then they bomb his air force. It's like even when you're being a slave to Israel, they're still going to bomb you. Even if you're, a government official in Lebanon saying take this land in the south, they'll still bomb the village to smithereens, including Christian sites. So it's really, takes groups like Hezbollah to prevent Lebanon from being completely encompassed by the Zionist regime. Yeah.
And Trump's more on Middle East. Trump's idea is to get Syria involved. And the thing is with Syria, that is impossible because they're already overstretched. They're already being used for the Sahel. They're already being used in their own country to do ethnic cleansing. They have a lot going on.
What does Syria have to do with the African countries in the Sahel? I haven't heard about this.
So there is coups not coups, but there are coup attempts that are happening in Mali. They just got crushed by the Mali and Russian forces. It took a while. It took about a month or two. There's a coalition that's been funded by France, and France is using terrorists in Africa.
Well, you're saying that France is using Jilani to try to back forces in the Sahel region. Okay, because I did hear about these Islamic terrorists that they were using against Burkina Faso and countries like that, but I didn't realize it was a connection with Jilani. Okay.
Yep, they're also connected with ISIS-K, as we already know.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Other forms of ISIS. So they're
like trying he said, it had nothing to do with ISIS anymore, but he's still ISIS when it's in Africa, right? I mean, this is just so obvious.
And the Wagner group,
puts a suit on, but he still has the ISIS mentality, right?
Yeah. Which, by the way, people got to stop saying Wagner. Wagner group does not exist anymore. The Wagner group actually went in, they integrated into the Russian Federation army. They are part of the Russian.
Well, the Wagner militia used to operate in Africa, but they were dismantled.
Yeah.
Because they're Nazis too, Did you know that? It's it was Nazi versus Nazis in Ukraine with Wagner. But Putin never liked the Wagner group. He's like, oh, they're fascists too, but we'll let them, maybe help us a little bit with the war effort. But, they overstepped their boundaries, and then their founder, I think, died in a plane crash or something, and they kind of disintegrated after that.
Yes, they had to be dissolved. And I was very happy when they were dissolved.
Well, it was sad in the sense that the war effort against the Ukrainian fascists, there was some.
I'm still here
on the anti-Ukrainian fascist front, but I think by then the North Koreans came in. The North Koreans have been very helpful with the Russians as well,
right? Yes, they have, but they haven't went into Ukraine yet. They just only been in.
Well, part of the actual Russian territory that's not in dispute is under Ukrainian control. So they're always talking about foreign invasion, poor Ukrainians, the West, right? But the Ukrainians went into Russia, and they had to bring in the North Koreans to help with that. And I think the North Koreans are helping logistically because they have weapons too, weaponry that's advanced with the Russians in operations within Ukraine. Are there troops in Ukraine that are North Korean? Not that I've seen, but they probably help logistically too with that.
So the reason why, from my understanding, Kim Jong-un is trying to make sure his military is well aware of what modern warfare looks like.
Yep.
Because Kim Jong-un is preparing for our craziness to go into his country as well too, especially with South Korea.
Hey, what's the name of? Oh yeah, Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman's friends with him, right?
Yes, we have.
Hey, we got our comrade Clau. How's it going?
From the Black Agenda Report.
Bienvenidos al programa, compañera.
Gracias. Saludos, camaradas.
Welcome to the program.
Yes,
I don't know
welcome
if
back.
they told you, if Paulo or Jamar told you, but I'm actually Peruvian American. So
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, we're paisas.
Yeah, somos paisanos. I'm very proud of my my Peruvian heritage.
Yeah, I didn't wear my Peru jersey, but I normally do have it on.
Are you in New York now or Peru?
I am in New York, actually. Let me
okay.
let me real quick.
I'm gonna go grab mine. I'll be right back.
Great. Awesome.
Libyan comrades gave it to me after the Venezuela defense.
Oh, that's amazing. I got this one from Cusco.
Nice.
And I think we're gonna be gifting it to some comrades in Gaza. So we'll see.
So I'll never forget. It was 2020, just before COVID.
Nice.
And I have a working class room, but I have a big room, so I don't have to take a long time to look for it. But literally, I'll never forget. It was January. Are you still there, Clau? Your camera went out.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
But
it was January of 2020, just before COVID, and we had the actions defending the Venezuelan embassy that took part in April and May of 2019. So I came back to DC a few months later because we were trying to do a documentary about it. But anyways, I got invited to a house full of Peruvians and Bolivians in Maryland.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
Interesting. And the Bolivian comrades said, right now, our country is aflame. Because you remember in 2020, this is the coup, after the coup against Evo.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Everywhere in our country, they're burning this flag. We give it to you to honor you for your actions at the embassy. And I took it with tears in my eyes, but I still have it all these years later.
That's amazing. Well, let me know if you want something, because I'm going to head to Cochabamba soon.
Oh, wow. Cochabamba, yeah. That's where, in case you don't know, Jamar, that's where Evo Morales is from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I'm going to... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, the coca farmers, there's a lot of coca farmers.
Yeah.
And just like Maduro was president of the bus drivers union, Evo Morales started out as president of the coca leaf union in Cochabamba. And what a lot of Americans don't understand, and Clau can get into it, is that when you talk about coca, it's not addictive. I've tried it. You can buy it legally in any market or supermarket in Peru and Bolivia. It probably wakes you up the Andes, coffee does. That's it. It just wakes you up a little bit like coffee does. It helps you with altitude sickness in the Andes sometimes.
Yeah.
But like it's not addictive at all. It only becomes a drug once they bring it into Colombia and put the chemicals, the powder and all that. But it's just a medicinal leaf. And as a matter of fact, like probably chewing marijuana would be more addictive than the coca leaf. Coca leaf has no addictive properties at all by itself. Mm-hmm. And so he was not involved with drugs. Evo was always, a coca, indigenous Aymara coca worker or farmer. And that's how he started out in the politics. But go ahead, Clau.
Yeah, no, I mean, you kind of said a lot of it. I've been posting on social media, it's not even me, honestly. It's the comrades there that are posting, videos explaining this upcoming Plan Delta N to capture and kidnap Evo in a very similar style to Maduro through either Lima or Buenos Aires to Brazil to then New York City. At Metropolitan.
Do you think that Lula behind the ¿cómo se llama? Behind the stage was involved with that maybe?
Well, Lula, and you're Peruvian, you probably know this. Lula was giving Boluarte ammunition during the uprisings in 2022 and 2023. Currently, Lula is giving the Spaniard Paz regime, U.S. Comprador regime, also ammunition and coverage.
She's talking about Dina Boluarte, who was dictator of Peru after the coup against the legitimate leader Pedro Castillo.
You got it.
But yeah, Lula, he's more of a centrist. He tries to play both sides. He tries to be okay with Washington on some things, and then really pissed me off about Lula. He didn't even man up and do it himself. He sent Dilma to do it in Moscow. I actually talked with the Julian Assange's father about this after it happened because he was there. He was in Moscow. John Shimpton, I know him. And so I was like, John, what do you think of this? That, you know, they betrayed Maduro. They would have let Venezuela into BRICS. Lula, how could he have done this? How could he have used Dilma to do the veto? Like, and he was disgusted by it as well. But he does things like that because maybe he felt, you know, and Clau can give her opinion on this, but maybe he felt at the time, this was just a couple of years ago, that Venezuela with their resources could be like a rival, like a threat to Brazil if they were able to get the status of being an associate of BRICS. Or maybe
go ahead. I can talk about Lula because I have a lot to say about Lula.
Yeah.
2004 Haiti. Lula uses the beautiful game, the Jogo Bonito, to bring in Brazilian football players to Haiti for like a friendly, which is really just another way that FIFA has exploited and corrupted our beautiful game.
They get politicized.
And I say our because I'm from Barrios Altos, right? I'm a kid, and you probably know Barrios Altos is one of the poorest barrios in Latin America. I'm also only going to be on for like another maybe 10 minutes. So I'm just going to like stream of thought type of shit. Yane. Anyway, I am meeting up with a comrade, so I have to go very soon.
No problem.
But damn, I lost my train of thought.
You said you're from Barrios Altos, and you're talking about the players, Brazilian players in Haiti.
Yeah. So the Brazilian players in Haiti Lula sort of does this, right, along with FIFA and the Brazilian Football Association. And they go to play this like sort of friendly match with Haiti as a way to, you know, sports wash what is the UN-US core group occupation of Haiti. Brazil to this day remains one of the main actors in the core group and occupies Haiti currently. So we should have known from 2004 exactly who the fuck Lula was, right? These spineless, worthless social democrats, right? That a lot of, you know, Latin American no sabo kids that don't even understand our language, right? Westerners, that presume to run around Latin America playing Che Guevara, right? Until they betray our leaders, right? And I'm talking about Evo Morales, right? Radio Casachun Coca is going to come out with a statement shortly, you know, around some of these traitorous, worthless rats that are journalists. And I'm sure if they're watching this,
I call them stenographers of the elite. You were just talking about
well, opportunists, right? Because they pretend to be independent, leftist,
right?
Communists, even, right? Children of revolutionaries, so-called, and then they, you know, they're originally from Europe, whether it's London or, you know, Sicily. Their families are from Sicily, or they're from Canada, let's say. I'm just picking random countries. But again, if you know who you are, I am talking about you. So yeah, you know, some of these worthless rats can run around to China and report on Bolivia and Peru from there, but you're never allowed back in the Andes, my nigga.
Yeah. I have a quick question, Clau. Because the Black Agenda Report is also.
Oh, I don't write for Black Agenda Report anymore.
Oh, not anymore? Okay.
Not at all. I am fully independent. I'm no longer a part of Black Alliance for Peace.
Okay.
Have nothing to do with those organizations.
Let me ask you a question. The Barrios Altos, because it's been a while since I've been to Peru. I remember there's a neighborhood in Lima. I know it's a neighborhood in Lima, of course. My father's from Lima, but there's a neighborhood in Lima called San Juan de Urigancho.
Yeah. That's a huge.
Do you know if Barrios Altos is close to San Juan de Urigancho?
No. San Juan de Urigancho is in the south. It's one of the southern. It's in the southern cone. Barrios Altos is in the center of Lima.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it's like, I don't know. You know, what would you say? San Juan de Urigancho to Barrios Altos is like maybe 2 hours on a combi.
Yeah, because Lima is a very big city. Yeah.
Huge. It
it's kind of like the favelas, right? Like if you go to Rio, the most dangerous areas of the favelas, that would be like San Juan de Urigancho or Barrios Altos.
Yeah. I come from Junín, from the like Chinatown area. It's not really there anymore. It was, if you grew up there in the like 80s and 90s in particular, we are survivors of that barrio, right? Because there was a massacre in 91, the year before I left. Killed an 8-year-old boy, massacred 16 people in Apoyada. That 8-year-old boy was my brother's friend. So that, this isn't just like, again, I'm not a kid. I was raised in northern Jersey, but I'm a child of the global South, right? So.
And I'm glad what you said about Che earlier, because there's a lot of people, for example, that want to compromise with imperialism. Oh, she's hardcore.
Let's go.
No, there's a lot of people that want to compromise with imperialism while they have posters or T-shirts of Che, and they don't actually listen to what Che said, because he said you cannot trust imperialism not one iota. And also, if you read, for example, Guerrilla Warfare, which I've read several times in Spanish as well, not just in English. Like, for example, he says never kidnap, and he didn't say it's because of bourgeois morality. He said, if you're a revolutionary, if you're a guerrilla, never kidnap people, because it's going to make your supporters turn against you. It's going to turn the enemy into martyrs or victims or whatever. And so what they did in Bolivia, when they captured Bolivian soldiers, they gave them a speech. They offered them to join the cause, and then they let them go. But you had certain, so-called guerrilla groups in Peru that were saying they were Guevarian, that they were on the left. And they were kidnapping people, and a lot of people they killed were indigenous people, and they were led by mestizo or white Peruvians. And that's why I can't think of his name right now, but he was the first foreign minister of Pedro Castillo. He was part of
Héctor Bejar. He's a dear comrade of mine.
And Héctor Bejar,
he's a really good
he had
friend.
connections directly with El Chino, who was killed alongside El Che in Bolivia. And then when he was captured, Velasco, when he took over, who was a military leftist, not only released Héctor Bejar, he joined his government. And then Héctor Bejar joined Pedro Castillo's government. That's direct legacy to Velasco. My father was in Peru during Velasco's government. It was a time of prosperity in Peru when the rest of the southern cone was surrounded by fascists. Velasco was protecting the people and the indigenous people of Peru. And so Bejar, one of the things that he said that got him in trouble, but it's true, he said, not the FARC. What's the name? Sendero Luminoso.
Yes, Sendero Luminoso.
Yeah, so that's the Shining Path. You've probably heard of the Shining Path, Jamar, right? They kidnapped a lot of people in the 80s and 90s. And the repression against them had no justification whatsoever. What Fujimori did had no justification. I'm not trying to justify. I'm just saying he mentioned that the Shining Path were funded at one point by the CIA. And so a lot of these groups, that they're doing tactics that go against leftism. It could be because elements of them, not all of them, could be financed by the imperialists themselves to try to cause division and turn people away from the left. So that's something that Hector brought up one time that I found interesting.
No, Hector, so interesting. He's when I go back to Lima soon, I'm hoping to connect with him because I'm good friends with his goddaughter, who actually lives in the Rockaways.
I would love to interview him. I'm fluent in Spanish, so it doesn't matter if you just English. I can interview him in the Spanish program,
No, I mean, the brother's still going, right? We're organizing a Peruvian diaspora study group, and whenever he can, he's gonna make it on to just like give some lectures or presentations.
Write me on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. I have 2,500 followers on there, and let me know if any event that he's gonna be at, because I would love to connect with him.
Yeah, I'll definitely be writing and probably uploading stuff to my Substack. And
by the way,
videos or interviews with
a congressman from Peru who's part of Pedro Castillo's party named Alex Flores?
I don't know him, but
he represents Ayacucho. He was with me in Venezuela. He was one of the
interesting.
In 2021, the original elections. Yeah, and so he was one of the ones that came back and told Pedro, "Hey, you got to reconcile with Venezuela." And soon after, they restored diplomatic relations, even before Argentina did, because Argentina was under a center-left government, and they eventually did too after that. But but I lost touch.
It was actually Bejar. It was Bejar that restored and normalized relations with Venezuela and closed down the Lima group, which was very important. I wrote when I was writing for Black Agenda Report. I wrote about the Lima group and sort of this, like, you know, the liberals' version of getting to the same objective, which was regime change in Caracas, right? So either, you know, whichever way it was, whether it was with the Lima group or outright, you know, what Trump did, it's the same result, right? It was either Juan Guaido or what happened, right? And I definitely implore you guys to check out Radio Causachuncoca, my Substack too, because their stuff is mostly in Spanish, and I'll translate it to English.
That link is in the description, guys that are listening.
Yeah, there's been some Westerners that have tried to steal that name and use it for their own independent media outlet, but it's not at all affiliated with Radio Causachuncoca. So they know who they are.
Lastly, I wanted to hear your reaction on the new 2.0 McCarthyism that's going on. You know, the U.S. comes up with a 100-page document saying the capital of communism, Cuba, and mentions all of these organizations that are allegedly, you know, my party, you know, people that Alex is affiliated with as well.
Zero evidence. Just like there's zero evidence of voodoo or Russian agents. They come up with zero evidence.
Well, the organization that I was formerly in is also named in there, and simply because there is, you know, a map of where U.S. bases are, which is, you know, public knowledge. It's just compiling public knowledge. So, you know, interesting. I guess cartography, digital cartography, is now terrorism, is what we're saying here. I just want to be sure that's what we're fucking saying here.
Now Trump wants to designate Antifa as a terrorism. So now opposing fascism, because that's all it means is you're anti-fascist. It means you're a terrorist. That's how pro-fascist Trump is.
Yeah, well, you know, again, Uncle Stalin ain't never do nothing wrong. And the people that they claim like are victims of communism, those are Nazis. I'm glad they're dead. I'm actually fucking glad they're not in this world anymore. So more of them should go. You know?
No, we were actually
but anyway, it's been a pleasure.
I'm glad that there's less Ukrainian Nazis, right? I mean, it's kind of good Russia went in, isn't it?
Actually.
They had a big Nazi problem.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so sorry I have to run.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much for coming on.
Let's reconnect because I'll be in the Andes, so I would love to do this from there.
Reach out to me on Twitter.
I will. And I think we're in Los Ronderos de las Redes, so we can connect on there too.
If you're part of that page too, just DM me from there and info about events with him or any other comrades.
Amazing. Thank you. Amazing. Take care, comrades. Peace. You too. You too.
La victoria siempre.
Venceremos. Hayaya.
Thank you so much. So we just had Clau on.
So sorry.
She was speaking from. She was speaking from the heart of the empire right there, literally where the Empire State Building is, New York City, about her plans to return to Latin America and do some actions with some real revolutionaries. So that's exciting that we made contact with her.
Yeah, man.
Isn't that great that she showed the Wimpala and I was able to go in my room and find my old Wimpala that was given to me almost 7 years ago.
That's such a beautiful flag.
Yeah, they gave me that in January of 2020. In a few months, it'll be 7 years since I got it. And it represents all the indigenous tribes from that region, Bolivia, Peru, the Wimpala. So very important.
So let's before we close out, I want to hear your response because we talked about Evo possibly getting kidnapped. We talked about what they did to Maduro. Do you think after August 6th,
the reason why they were able to do it is because they had a whistleblower, somebody from the inside that revealed the plans, and that's when the people all came. I think the region is called Los Altos, which is in the outskirts of Cochabamba, where Ebro's from. Not to be confused with Barrios Altos, where the ghetto where she's from in Lima. Altos means like highlands. So if they're from like the highlands around Los Altos in Cochabamba, and his compound, then they converged on it to protect it. So they didn't have the element of surprise and were able to do it. If only they had a whistleblower for the Maduro operation, it could have protected him and got him out of there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, like she said, a
Gustavo.
Maduro-style kidnapping that they were planning to do. And there's a long history of infiltration in Bolivia. Good example.
Yeah.
There was a secret socialist who was a minister in Barrientos' government. Barrientos was a dictator that ordered along with the CIA, the assassination of Che. One of his own ministers was secretly working for the Cubans.
Right.
That's how we were able to get Che's diary out. And so he was able to smuggle Che's diary out of the area where they had his body and send it to Cuba for publication. And so they actually had a president after Barrientos that took over who was kind of center left, and he is the one that freed the two, the Argentine Ciro Bustos, whose book I'd recommend about Che. He was part of Che's guerrilla, and the French journalist, he's still alive, Regis Debray. So they were both held by the Barrientos regime. And then the next guy, I forget his last name, but he ended up freeing them. So it's not like there was consistent fascists throughout the whole thing. And even within the fascist regimes, you had ministers that infiltrated that were secret socialists that were working for the other side. So there's a history of infiltration. So thanks to that history, somebody from the inside said, hey, this is the operation they're planning against Evo. And that ultimately saved his life because probably his guards would have resisted. He could have been killed. In kind of a Saif al-Islam style, right? Saif al-Islam, they infiltrated his guard like they did Maduro. Not to say the Cubans were involved, but with Saif al-Islam in Libya, his guards kind of withdrew, and then he just him and his AK, and he fought till the end. He died with dignity, but they overcame him and killed him on his compound. And something could have happened like that with Evo, but luckily a good infiltrator got in there and said, nope, this is what they're planning to do before they can implement it. And that's why he's still alive. He's a survivor because they've almost taken out Evo several times. I'm not going to say 600 times CIA operations like Fidel. Evo's not that old. But certainly he's a survivor.
What are we looking at with Colombia?
So
Gustavo, I
don't know because you said I wasn't able to watch the whole interview with Dan. I came in like 3/4 in. I remember you said that you had some audio issues with him, but all I know is that Petro is fighting it in the courts. I don't know how successful that could be. But what he should have done was not be conciliatory. He's being conciliatory like quasi Lula level with the empire because he said, okay, I'll let your company in to help, supervise the elections. And what happened? They rigged it because you could not trust imperialism, not one iota. This guy was a guerrilla. Petro was a guerrilla. He should have remembered the words of Che. So that was a big mistake.
Do you think they're going to kidnap
do after the fact?
You think they're going to kidnap Gustavo? You think they're going to kidnap Gustavo?
No, because he is going to fight in the courts. He's probably going to lose. He's not going to be a threat. The next guy's going to take over. There's no reason to take out Petro then. Now, once the guy takes over and Petro leads an opposition against him, he causing the trouble. He might be taken out. Who knows? There was a guy that was just taken out in Ecuador who was the lead prosecutor on the case showing how the boatmen were killed and tortured by U.S. forces. The same case that Dan Kovlik's involved with on behalf of the Colombians. The Ecuadorian case, the prosecutor was going after the Americans on that. It was probably either American mercenaries or mercenaries from the Noboa regime itself in Ecuador that took him out. But the prosecutor was recently killed in Ecuador. Ecuador is a complete disaster right now as well.
Well, the reason why I asked is because there was rumors that was going about, and the fascist president that's going to take power on August 6th was saying, oh, no one's thinking about grabbing him. No one's going to grab him. You know what I mean? I'm like, why would you? That's always fishy to me when I hear stuff like that. I'm just like, what? Like,
there's a long history of political violence in Colombia.
Right.
So nothing would surprise me. But I think what they're going to do is they're just going to make sure the court decision is corrupt and against what Pedro is demanding, so that the guy will take over power from there.
And, the criticisms of Brazil, because Lula's next. Even though Lula likes to play with the empire, he's next.
Even when you're conciliatory with the empire, they'll still go after you. Either by killing you or by betraying you and making sure you don't stay in power, or that your allies stay in power.
We're looking at a very dark time coming for Latin America.
How long can you do the show to this evening, by the way, brother? 6:30?
Yeah. What's up? You got something?
No. I just want to know. I don't mind talking for another 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I did come on late, so I can make up my time like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think I got a shirt that's almost the same color as yours. That would have been funny if we both showed up with those. And then I would have showed her the Wimpala, and then all three of us would have had something in common today.
Yeah. Well, I was about to end soon because there's a lot I need to deal with. There's another wedding going on, stuff like that too.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to end at 6:15 in 10 minutes, that's fine too.
Yeah.
In the next 10 minutes, I can still get my 2 cents in.
Yeah. What you got for us, bro? Because I know you always have something very important to talk about. Let's go.
Let's talk about a book, bro. Let's go off topic.
Okay.
And let's talk about my books. This is a very interesting book.
The Secret
I'm reading 3 books at the same
world.
time right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they say to be a good writer, you got to be a good lector or good reader.
Mm-hmm.
So I read a lot. And this actually was written by one of the founding members. You ever heard of that 80s group Blondie?
Yes. Hair metal, right?
I think he was either the guitarist or he wasn't lead singer. Lead singer was Blondie herself, but he was one of the founding members. And so he's also written about the occult. Because, I love that stuff. The hidden history, history's mysteries, all that. I love that.
Yeah.
And so he actually goes into, because I've been fascinated by a lot of like the Muslim scholars that helped bring the Renaissance to Europe out of the Dark Ages. But he talks about different scholars, even Christian scholars, and I don't want to say heretics, but people that were considered traitors of the Christians because of their occult beliefs, that were ultimately burned at the stake, but that had revolutionary ideas,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them believed in paganism or philosophy, but wanted to merge it with Catholicism or Christianity, and they got in trouble for it. But at the same time, they were bringing Europe back to their old pagan traditions of the Romans and the Greeks, the history that they had forgotten when they were in the Dark Ages.
Right.
So that's one of the fascinating books I'm reading right now. I love reading that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very, very not that well understanding of the Dark Ages parts. I think the Renaissance is where
the Renaissance is way more fascinating, and there's so little we know about the Dark Ages because so little information could get out because it was just an era of decay.
Yeah,
I just hope the U.S. is not entering a dark age. Hopefully,
yes, we are.
Maybe we're in the Dark Age right now in a way, and we're going to get to the Renaissance through revolution. We're going to get to a rebirth. I try to be optimistic.
That's what we all are trained to be as socialists, optimistic. We always gotta be optimistic. I don't want the doom and gloom, but I'm just like, man, it's getting crazy.
But I'm excited, man. I just made a direct connection to Hector Bejar, bro. That guy is badass, man. He literally was on his way.
Tell the audience who he is.
Actually, he took part in the action in Puerto Maldonado. So there's a town called Puerto Maldonado. I've known about this since I was 17 years old. There's a town called Puerto Maldonado, which is between Bolivia and Peru. It's near the Lake Titicaca, because that lake divides Peru from Bolivia. There's actually distant islands on that lake where there's tribes that still don't know the outside, that if you get too close, they'll shoot you with arrows.
I don't blame them.
But yeah, so they had a guerrilla action. Bejar, the Peruvian poet, what was his name? I'll look up his name. Just give me a second. But El Chino. So there was a Peruvian Chinese comrade that was killed alongside Che in Bolivia. He was part of that action with Hector Bejar. But let me look up the poet because I used to be fascinated with this guy when I was a teenager. 1 second.
No, there's just so much information about Peru that it's very, very important for people to understand. Be revolutionary.
Yeah, because Hector's still alive. He's probably in his 80s, but he took part in this shit. All right, I got this guy's name. Javier Heraud. So Javier Heraud, Hector Bejar, El Chino. I think his last name was Chang. He was a Chinese Peruvian. Wang Chang, maybe. I've written about him. But anyways, these three guerrillas and others within the guerrilla group themselves, and they're not Shiny Path. They were legitimate guerrillas before Shiny Path was even around. This was in the 60s. They took an action against the Peruvian regime in Puerto Maldonado, and they were suppressed. And one of the guerrillas was captured, Hector Bejar. Another one was killed, the poet Javier Heraud, unfortunately. El Chino got away. He fled to Bolivia. He crossed the border. El Chino, a year later, I think it was 1966. So by 1965. So Che was in the Congo then. 1966, Che's returns, I think November 1966 to Cuba. And then shortly after goes to Bolivia. And he teams up with El Chino Chang. He teams up with all these other guerrillas. One of them was a Bolivian communist named Moises Guevara. So he had the same last name as Che. They weren't related. He was Bolivian.
Not related? Okay.
No, but Moises, another great revolutionary, but of Bolivia, not Peru, though many Peruvians were involved in the operation. He was more associated with the Maoists. And Moises in Spanish means Moses. So his name was Moses Guevara. And he was killed before Che was captured. But one of the guys was one of the last ones to be killed who was captured. Once Che was captured, most of the guerrillas had been killed already. And so there was only like 4 in the end that survived. 6, if you want to count the 2 that were arrested beforehand, the ones I mentioned earlier, the French journalist who supported the guerrillas and the Argentine Ciro Bustos, who was kind of a journalist too, but also a guerrilla. So like very few survived. I think it was like 3 Cubans and 2 Bolivians. And the 2 Bolivians that returned, one of them was Inti Peredo. The other one, I can't think of his name. It might have been Moises Guevara, actually. Let me check when Moises Guevara died.
No. You know, there's a lot that I don't know about the final days of Che. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's fascinating, bro. There's a lot of stuff in English. Read the Bolivian diaries from the survivor from Che got smuggled out. Let me see when Moises Guevara died, because if he died in 1970, no, I think it was 1969. So the second attempt at a revolution after Che died was led by 2 Bolivians. One of them was Inti Peredo. His brother Coco Peredo died in action before Che was captured. Okay, let me see. It says he died in August of 1967. So Moises Guevara didn't make it to the second attempt. But Inti Peredo did. Inti Peredo died in 1969, the same year they tried to do another revolution. Let me check when Inti Peredo died.
This is what, you know, this is a little bit off, but
he
like
died in September of 69, so he survived,
I'm happy that Ortega.
Who were the 2 Bolivians that survived? Hold on.
Yep.
Bolivians who survived Che's revolutionary attempt in Bolivia. Che's revolutionary attempt. Let's see what it says. Because the second guy, we have to remember his name too, not just Inti. By the way, Inti means sun god from the Quechua, from the Inca religion. The Quechua was the language the Incas spoke. Although in Ecuador, it's Quechua because they have their own dialect. Who were the 2 Bolivians who survived Che's revolutionary attempt? Okay, we'll see who they were. Or maybe there was 3 of them. Yeah, there was 2 Cubans that survived and 3 Bolivians. So let me see. Who were the 3 Bolivians? Well, it says the 4 that survived were Pombo, Inti, Dario, and Ñato. I think Dario and Pombo were Cuban. And so Inti and Ñato, maybe only 4 of them survived, I think Ñato was a Bolivian. I have to look into it.
Did you hear about Nicaragua?
Yeah, I understand why he's saying that. I mean, put yourself in Daniel Ortega's shoes, right? You're literally seeing democracy thwarted all around you. I wouldn't necessarily put it in his terms like we're never going to have elections again. I would say there's a temporary pause on elections. But I understand his motivation behind it because there's so much sabotage against the democratic process in the region right now. He's one of the last that are holding out. I'm not critical of him for making that statement.
Right. I don't blame him at all. You know, but the liberals will be mad. Oh, he doesn't want any democracy. Do you hear what he said? He said there's going to be no elections. Trump is in office. And he's trying to make Latin America fascist as fuck. Like, guys, starving Cuba. Like, come on. Y'all got to see the extremism behind why Ortega said what he said. Ortega is doing the right thing right now. Literally.
I'm doing some research while you're talking. Go ahead.
What you looking? Oh, you're looking into who else survived?
I'm trying to give you some biographical information. I'm trying to say who were the 4 that got away, because there was 4 survivors. It's important to know who they were.
And you just mentioned the 2.
Well, I mentioned Bray and Bustos, but I'm talking about the fighters. They were more journalists.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, it's going to take some research, but I know for a fact that Inti Peredo died in 1969, which means he outlived Che by 2 years. He got away. and he made another attempt in 1969. Actually, in 1969, they captured the campesino who betrayed them. So, have you ever seen the movie with Benicio del Toro?
No, what is it called?
Che 1 and 2. Part 2 is where they go to Bolivia. Benicio del Toro plays Che. Did a great job. Great actor. He was also good in the one with DiCaprio that we talked about a few times.
Right. I have to watch that too.
One battle after another. But anyways, if you watch Che 2, there's a scene where a Bolivian campesino or farmer betrays the guerrillas to the authorities unnecessarily. He didn't have to. He did it because he didn't believe in them. He was a sellout. He sold out to the regime. And as a result, the only female guerrilla, her name was Tanya. She was from Argentina. She was killed, and all the guerrillas that were in the group B, because they separated, were decimated in the river except for one. Like there was one that survived. He was wounded. But yeah, there was like a group of maybe 15. There's only like 30 guerrillas left. They split half and half, and about 14 of them were massacred on the river because of that information that campesino gave to the military. And so one of the things that they were able to do in 1969 when they returned was capture that campesino and have him executed, which I completely understand. Revolutionary justice had to be done. And not only that, one of the generals who ordered the cutting of the hands of Che after he died to send his hands to Argentina to make sure that they matched his fingerprints that were in the Argentine system, because I guess he was arrested in a minor offense once over there. He was killed, and he was killed by a daughter of a Nazi. So there was two Nazis at least that fled to Bolivia. One was Klaus Barbie, who trained the Rangers that killed Che alongside the CIA. The other Nazi, I can't think of his name, but his daughter became a guerrilla after Che died. And she went to Europe, I think Spain, or somewhere in Europe, where there was a meeting of Bolivian generals. And she was able to go up to the guy who ordered Che's hands to be cut off and shoot him in the head and kill him. And she was able to flee Europe, return to Bolivia, join up with the guerrillas, I believe in the early 1970s, because they made like 2 or 3 attempts after Che died. This part's largely ignored. Part of history, right. Occult history. Occult means hidden in Spanish too. Oculto means hidden, or ocultado. And so she gets to Bolivia, and the regime, I believe Barrientos was still alive. Oh, you know, Barrientos died in a very karma caught up to him for taking part in the killing of Che. Barrientos, who ordered Che's body sent in a helicopter and all of that, he died in a horrific helicopter accident, burned alive. Karma caught up to the son of a bitch, right? But anyways, one of his generals got shot in the head and killed by somebody guerrilla associated that was ironically the daughter of a Nazi. That was one of the Nazis that fled to Bolivia. And so she joined up with the guerrillas when she got back from Europe. And she certainly proved herself. And then the regime killed her. But isn't it ironic that the regime took in these Nazis and then one of their daughters they ended up killing? But yeah, because she went to the
very
other
ironic.
You know, she went to many ironies with it.
She went on the right side of history.
Yes.
She went on the right side.
And if I had time to research before the program, I gave you all the names of everybody I'm talking about. But
that's fine.
This is stuff I haven't talked about in a while. But yeah, I mean, you know, so people are just like, oh, Che died and that's it. No, there was attempts to bring justice for him, and there was some things that happened to the people that were involved in his assassination. I remember when I read Che's brother's biography. It's in English. You should read it. Juan Guevara wrote it. His young brother's still alive. He lives in Argentina.
Juan Guevara. Yep.
He said that when his father found out that he wanted to hire people to go into Bolivia to kill the guys that killed his son, which makes sense. I mean, you want to have revenge. But he didn't have to hire anybody. You had the guerrillas still there that got some justice for him. So, but yeah, that was quite a loss for the cause when they took out Che. But they turned him into a martyr, didn't they? Oh,
yes, they did. And now everybody's wearing.
He always knew you can't kill, and even Fred Hampton said it 2 years later. You can kill the revolutionary.
Yep.
But you can't kill the revolutionary idea.
Yep. And we got to end it here because I got to go.
It's 6:19, no problem.
But we gave a really good episode today, even no matter what. So please, guys, check it out if you are just coming in. And please have a really, really good day. And make sure you follow Alex on X, and also Claude. The link is in the description. Follow her Substack. Everything. Look at her work, please. But definitely thank you so much for taking the time out to listen to us. We're going to come back next Friday. We're going to keep it going. I had weddings. The last wedding is this week. That's it. We're done after this.
Hey, at least you're going to something positive, man. Get your mind off whatever drama's going on. Have a great time at the wedding. Have some drinks from me. And viva la revolución. Viva la Wimpala.
Yes. Have a good one, brother. And goodbye, everybody.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better